Gambit held all the cards and managed to keep it going as we got into Dust 2. 16-2, a more than convincing win there, as we'll be next going on to Train to see a bit of a rematch from what we saw in the best of one. Pimp and Blair, how do you make any sense of Dust 2? Because statistically, we certainly didn't think it would be a good matchup for either teams, and then Gambit come completely prepared and ready for it.
You woke up.
We got to see the CT side we wanted from Gambit, right?
Yeah.
A very static CT side. They weren't taking too many chances. And whenever Syman come with anything for them, whatever there was the B-split they tried to do, whatever there was the long take, it seemed like Gambit had it all under control throughout the entire game. Good to see Mo stepping up once more time. He's now the highest rated player over the course of these two maps. Whereas the counterpart for Syman right now, Balance, who has been a great player of them, is the worst rated player over these two maps. So there's quite a difference there. And that's going to be a problem moving into Train now.
Yeah, massively so. And one player I wanted to point out here, Blair, was the young gun, right, in Exile. He's come in and he's had a bit of a quiet start to this series, but as he's warmed up into it, he showed us his stuff on Dust 2. He's obviously felt a lot more comfortable.
Absolutely, compared to yesterday, right? Even on Inferno, on Dust 2 as well, he seems to have found his stride, so to speak. He's looking very confident. His aim is sharp. That young aim you're talking about, Pimp. You might have remembered, a decade back or something. The thing is, it was a great performance overall from the team, but let's not discount Syman Gaming out completely, because bear in mind, I think it was round 6. Gambit won 6 in a row. Syman won the first round, and Gambit had to go for a full eco with USPs. That tells the story that particular scoreline 16-2 doesn't tell the full story. It could have been a much closer affair. Some of the rounds are a little scrappy here and there, but all things considered, Gambit woke up. They managed to press the advantage they had, and now it's going to be Train. The rematch, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, now you say the rematch is going to be fun. Train is a map that we keep speaking about that Gambit used to be one of their key maps. They still comfortably pick into it. They like playing it. But last time around, Syman took advantage. Syman looked a lot more confident. But this is also Syman's best map in terms of what they play here.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting as you just alert to. I think it's going to be interesting because of the fact that you normally talk about when you already faced one team in the same tournament on a certain map, you don't want to play the same map twice if you were the winning team. The reason for that is, right, what are you going to change if you're the winning team? You're winning 16-12 in a surprisingly win against Gaming. You're thinking to yourself, all right, we did everything we had to do perfectly fine. Obviously, small things can be tweaked. Whereas if you're Gambit, you're losing 16-12 to a team that you should be winning. There's a lot of stuff you need to change, a lot of tendencies you can go in and look at.
Yes.
And let's not forget that when you look at it player by player, Gambit are the more experienced team. They should be the better shooting team. So in that regard, all Syman had coming into Train was the fact that they could have prepared better for Gambit going into the first meetup. That can't be a factor now. Gambit can be just as prepared for Syman as they were in the first meetup. So in that regard, I'm going to be, leaning towards Gambit in this one. I think they are the better team. I think they are the more experienced players. And when you have Mao showing up as he is right now, being the best player on the server, whereas the counterpart to him, the other AVP player from Syman Gaming, is the worst rated player in the game so far, that's going to be a bit of a problem for them, especially considering how strong Train is.
So Gambit have kind of warmed their way up into this, right? They had a little slow start, now they're coming back in. They win their first set of best of threes here, now they come into this one. Now the thing that I really think it might be an end game problem for these guys is going to be actually how they deal with what they're going to learn from this, right? Because you speak about what they learned from the demo review, but how do they adapt on the fly? Because that certainly didn't come into place yesterday.
It didn't at all, right? Like, for example, there's one very famous round, which I think Sponge tweeted out as well, where Gambit had a read on that inner play. They had 3 players, and yet they lost it down. That's not a problem with them not having understanding or having a read on Syman. It's more like nothing was clicking, and it's just one of those days where it's unfortunate it had to be a best of one, it had to be a Train, but just looking at the way Gambit are playing right now on Dust 2, like, yeah, sure, it's not the cleanest of wins, so to speak, at least based on some of those rounds here and there, but like you mentioned, Pim, Mo's really hitting his shots. Like you said, it's a very off-based map as well. Doshi has been finding his stride as well. And more importantly, Axile. When I saw him yesterday, he was looking very shaky. Today, as the days progress, he's looking better and better, and he might be the deciding factor to see if Gambit can actually clinch this. And I do agree with Pimp here. I think it should go the way of Gambit, logically speaking, objectively speaking. Yesterday must just have been an anomaly, so to speak.
Now, we've got to stay on this Axel thing really quick here because, remember, this is like one of his first 2 big lands here, so he's maybe adjusting to the pressure a little bit here?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it is a young player. It is a first-time experience, and we often find ourselves talking about how it's differently playing at home, contra playing at LAN. So there's something to be said about that. That said, though, he has to show up now. He's also one of the very vital parts of this Gambit lineup, especially on the CT side. You're going to see him push inner on the inner goes. He's going to be the guy that is all the way down backline, taking those fights and potentially winning or losing the rounds for Gambit. He's the aggressive piece together with Mer. So those two are 2 I would look out for now.
All right, well, you guys on the desk think it's going to be Gambit, and I have to agree with you guys. Gambit are the ones with the experience, but can they get it done? It's going to be with Tom and Jason for the final map in this best of 3.
Final map indeed, and Train's going to be an interesting one, as I already pointed out on the desk. Gambit got slaughtered on this map just yesterday, and Syman Game were able to take an upset victory for most of the people out there. But now coming into this, with the time they've had to prepare to look over their old Train, and with how dominating Dust 2 was, it's kind of hard to vote against the squad here that's looking to get themselves into the minor.
Yeah, I think this is one of those sort of cases where you say you don't really want to play the same team on the same map twice in a tournament. Like, it just happens that normally the team that loses come back, especially if it's the favorite, and they come back a lot stronger. Now, after the sort of like first map that we saw, I was in the Syman camp, and I was saying like they played really well, they looked great on Mirage. Then it goes into Dust 2, and although I agree with Bear that it started very, very close towards the end, I don't think that was the case. Like, a lot of the rounds became more dominant, and we saw like a lot of players stepping up to the plate. 3v3 situations quickly ended by one player running in and headshotting all three of them, and it's like that's the sort of caliber of play that I expect to see from Gambit, where they are just the better team. Now we go into a map which they always like to play. Like, pretty much every single Gambit roster has been happy to play on this map, so I'd be very surprised if they do go and throw it away. At the same time, both teams have won their map choice, and this is the decider ground for a reason. Now, obviously, Syman have had a fantastic game on this yesterday, and I'm hoping that's what they come into thinking. Like, okay, we got to be confident. We've already won this once. We've just got to do what we did again. And hopefully the idea of Dust 2 is gone.
Yeah, and that actually was something I wanted to talk about during that last match. Just fortunately didn't have time. I remember back in the days, like when I was casting League of Legends, and League of Legends, yeah, all the people out there in chat. Talking to
Riot.
I believe it was actually Ocelot, owner of G2. So hey, I brought it back to CS, it's relevant. And talking to him, because they had a really devastating loss in one of their matches, I was like, would you rather lose a match where, you know, you play for 50 minutes at a time and you just like grind it out and you can almost win and you lose, or would you rather lose a match,
Just get bagged.
yeah? And he said, yeah, you just get that one 100%. You'd rather just get banged, because
Can't repeat it.
because at least with that you're just kind of with that you're just kind of like, all right, well, we know what we did wrong. The game got taken away from us. No big deal. Move on. But if you have to grind out a long game that's so close that it comes down to like one small mistake, then it sits in your head and it really frustrates you and will sit on your mind for your next match and potentially the one after. And with how we saw Syman Gaming playing Dust 2, especially in the latter rounds on T side, they were there just rushing through. Actually, it was CT side. Sorry, just like rushing through smokes on the T side in the last few rounds of the half. It was just like, what are they doing? You know, it's like clearly they've given up here. I hope for their sake, though, that's not something that's going to carry around into the next match, because that's something they can't afford to do. You lose this, you're out of the whole minor. There's no chance to get through into the majors, no chance for the stickers, no chance to play in front of the world here in the legendary Spodek Arena. You're just going to be going home. So hopefully Solar, the coach, has been able to, you know, punch their arms quite a few more times, you know, get them going, keep them focused, because this is going to be a tough match. I feel like if you're the losing team and you get the chance to replay a map against the same team, it favors you, because you get to look at what you did wrong and what they were doing to counter that, or were doing to counter you, and fix it. I think things are going to be a lot harder for Syman here, the fact that they've already won once and they've shown their cards in the initial match yesterday.
Well, that's the other thing for Syman Gaming, is if now things do go wrong, that they are out. It's not the same time where they get to come back and have another go at it, look through what went wrong. And they did so well in the previous attempt. Obviously, you can look at that as a massive positive, but at the same time, they're not going to have gone through the demos of what they needed to fix and what was done well by Gambit, because there wasn't that much. They didn't perform particularly well. So it's one of those scenarios where realistically Gambit should have the advantage going into this matchup. But at the same time, I do think this is now a level playing field. This is where, well, basically it's just going to be the best team wins, and the other will be joining Namiga and, of course, Runtime in the playing home, I guess.
Yeah, that's...
I'll be on it too.
Yeah, but you'll be back. You'll be back. Over on the other side, though, Prosto did not win their first match against Avantgarde. It went 16-13 in favor of them, and they'll be going on to Dust 2 next. And the winner of that one, I believe, will be going through to the playoffs as well. So a lot of pressure on these teams, and to look at, you know, the groups we had, to potentially say Avantgarde isn't going to make it into the playoffs is something I don't think any of us would have expected. Winstrike got the better of them yesterday and actually came through as the #1 seed from the group. So they'll play against the winner of this match, and Team Spirit, who came out first in Group A, will play against the winner of Avantgarde against Prosto.
Well, yeah, that's the sort of thing you have to look at in this sort of scenario. Like, if your team spirit and you're sat there at the moment, you're thinking, am I going to have to play Avangard for winning the group?
Right.
Like, it's just it's a horrible scenario. But the same thing you can sort of say for Windstrike in a way. It's like, okay, so we win our group and we might have to play Gambit. Like, it's either way. It's like it's a tough scenario from here on out. And I think like if all the teams sort of like go through into like the way they should, like if we now get Gambit and we get Avangard, then pretty much we've had all 4 teams that we expected to go through through.
Just not in the right order.
Yeah, and we get like the sort of best matchups coming in later on in the tournament.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still waiting for someone to connect to the server. I believe they're having some technical issues. So we're going to head to a short break, but when we come back, I promise, I probably should have done that we'll get underway with our final map here.
Okay, some promise.
CIS Minor. Welcome back, everyone. We should be getting underway with our match here in just a few moments of time that Jason promised is going to stick, or I'm going to have to go beat someone up. Preferably Tom or Bleb, but that'd probably be like...
Because you made a promise.
Yeah.
If anything, that the whole community should just beat you up for lying. Yeah, that's backfired, isn't it?
I don't like you anymore. No, so obviously we're still waiting for, obviously get our last player in the server. It should be, I think I've just joined a few seconds ago. But what's interesting to me is the fact, Syman, we didn't really know what to expect them come into this whole minor. But we've seen almost every individual player really step up when it's mattered. I forget this Neelan, Torek has done extremely well in this series, as well as Perfecto, who had such a rough start yesterday.
Yeah.
Really down on himself in their match on Mirage. But then we haven't seen really Sanji doing too much, and I just balance. He's been relatively quiet. I wonder if that's just due to the fact of playing against a different style of Opera out of Mo, or maybe he's just not feeling as confident as he was yesterday. But either way, if every member is playing well, I feel like Syman Gaming should be able to take this on Train. And they've had the opportunity to see Gambit playing on Train earlier on against Nemiga. Like, they had the opportunity to watch, see how well they read into their opponents, and maybe come up with a strategy to work around that, because they can probably safely assume that Train would be coming their way in their best of 3.
Yeah, and I think, like, realistically, both teams could have expected this to come through. Like, if Gambit are willing to play it going forward after losing, and then Syman are thinking, well, we beat them on it, we're definitely not going to be banning it. Yeah, it's almost set in stone that this would be a map coming up at least at some point. That's why neither of them were the ones to pick it. But at the same time, I don't know. I still lean this in the favor of Gambit. It's one of those things where I think until they're actually out of the tournament, I'm not going to be betting against them because they're still one of those teams that has a decent amount of firepower. They've got a lot of experience behind them as well. I think Bondic has been a solid addition to this team, and we're slowly seeing like the youngster of Axar. I was just looking down the server, I was like, who am I missing? Because Mir's in there twice at the moment. But yeah, the youngster of Axar who's really starting to grow into this tournament. And I think that's so important because obviously the sort of early stages of this, you are playing against teams that realistically Gambit should be beating. But if he can then gain confidence to play like this versus the likes of Windstrike or versus Team Spirit or Avangard, whoever they end up against, then it's much more important, and then obviously he can slowly go forward like into the major qualifier. It's not that far off that we get to that point, and who knows how far they can go from there. But I think it's important that as the sort of youngster, he's not just gone straight in. Like if they were in the EU minor, I think he would have been screwed because it's sort of like one of those things where it's like, okay, and our first game is Mouse Sports, and then our second game is, I don't know, Vitality. It's like no matter where you go, you're not getting a nice game.
Well, speaking of Mouse Sports and Vitality, Valiance did pick up a 16-14 victory against Mouse Sports, and Vitality smashed Optic, going 16-8 in the EU Minor. And Vitality ended up beating Valiance in that best-of-3 to go on through into the playoffs. What's interesting to me is the elimination match. I'll say it again. The elimination match for Group A, one of these two teams will be going home. It's Mouse Sports or it's Optic. Those are two teams you would expect to be able to make it through into the playoffs, if not actually into the major. On the other side of this, though, we have North, who lost 6-16 against Wendigo, and X-Space Soldiers up against ENCE, who lost 6-16, and ENCE did pick up a 2-0 victory. So now you have North up against X-Space Soldiers, with one of them going home, and then the winner of that plays against still Wendigo to see who makes it through as the last team into the playoffs. This is honestly like one of the hardest things to predict of what's going to happen, especially with the break we've had from, the holiday break and then only about 9 days of practice. I think even MBK said with Vitality, with Alex on the team, they've literally only had 9 days. And hey, if they can top their group with only 9 days of practice like that, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, they did very, very well yesterday. And yeah, talking of the sort of like upsets of the day, I think that the Optic one was like more of a flip of a coin of who would win that one, like who would come out on the day, who would be performing well. And it definitely seemed like Vitality had their number. But in terms of, well, the other matchup, I just think like Valiance performed so well to take down Mouse Sports, and that's like what the number 4 team in the world that they've just managed to go and beat and get themselves at least in a position where they might get a rematch. That will be the most painful thing, though, is if they then comes back to the best of 3, because then again you still have to favor Mouse Sports in that sort of scenario. In the other group, I'm actually not that surprised. I think ENCE have been performing very, very well and growing well as a team. I think structural-wise, they're probably one of the best teams in the tournament. I think just fantastic. Working together. Wendigo as well always have the sort of like the pure brute force to just beat like any team in sort of a best of 1 scenario. I think that's sort of like the best of 1s favor them quite well, because I think when it goes into like the deeper best of 3s, they might have a bit more trouble. X-Space Soldiers obviously recently like having Zontares leave, I think like quickly fixing that problem and just patching in Yam was never going to work.
I mean, they even said, they had an interview with HLTV that Major was just looking for, well, he realized there's no way we can switch to English comms in the amount of time that we have. So we need to look for someone that can speak Turkish. And Yam obviously was like a free agent kind of at the time, so they picked him up. He also filled the opera role for him and the team, but the fact was they had to change around their play style to the way that Yam opts. So it's kind of unfortunate in that situation.
Like the sort of the best players that you could put into that spot, you need an organization who just have a ridiculous amount of money. Like if you want to pull Woxic out of Hellraisers, you need an org, and they don't have an org. So it's like there was no way they were ever going to be able to like patch in like a fantastic player into the roster straight off the bat, like a world beater that would just come in and just like win games for you. But it's a horrible situation, and the timing couldn't be worse. North, on the other hand, obviously they're the team that the word potential has been used about 4 billion times with the amount they should be able to do with the team that they've got. But realistically, Wendigo beat them, but they've still got a lifeline, and if they can beat X-Space Soldiers, which they should, then they get the rematch, which I think they're going to be gunning for.
Well, here we go. The Jason promise sticks true. I told you we come back from the break, we'll be ready to get into the game. Didn't say how long, but we made it nonetheless.
I didn't specify.
It's true. Hey, let me get this cop out, all right? I need this. I don't want to be beat up. Here we go. Gambit Esports going to be on the T side. Syman Gaming on the CT. One of executes going out towards the outside, as you can see already. Axe as well dropping straight out. Pop. I feel like this is exactly what Nemiga did against Gambit. And they just played on Train prior, but Axel opened things up with the first kill.
Already a couple of kills coming straight back. In fact, the CTs are just winning all of the duels from here on out. It's only Mo remaining, and he will fall in turn. And, well, Syman Gaming off to a flying start already. They've got half the rounds they managed to get in the previous map.
Doing math on air is always dangerous, but you seem confident in that one.
Yeah, you know, like 50% of 2 is not the most difficult thing in the world.
Normally it's not, but sometimes when you're casting it can be. And sometimes difficult things, like Gambit not losing the pistol round, needs to determine what true grit and metal you're made of. They've lost to this team before. They've had the time to prep into train. They've already played it once today, so they've been able to warm up on this map in particular, and it seems they're going to just bombard this inner site here. Actually have slowed things down, maybe expecting a nade or two to come through. Sanji going to be playing from long range. Actually not going to hit really that much damage. And he's actually going to fall for this one. That's going to be the M4 now down. The bomb's going to be planted. This Balance is trying to push him with the USP. He gets stinked up. But luckily Perfecto and Neelan are going to be there. And it's just going to be all on Mur, not able to rescue that M4. But at least the damage has been done. He's been able to get the bomb down.
He's looking for a gun. He doesn't realize that his opponent actually didn't have one at all. So, yeah, unfortunate. But at the same time, bomb plant 2 kills. That's really not bad for a second round for Gambit. They're going to be coming in with a big buy. They can even get an AWP in if they really want to. Like Axel will be able to drop it, of course. He'll have to take the hit and not get any utility, but I feel like it's worth it. In fact, Mo's actually going to go for the SG instead. So no AWP to be had. But there will be one for IES Balance. I think that's going to be the battle that will definitely be a little bit more interesting. Mo definitely having some strong performances throughout the day. And even in the match yesterday, he was sort of the one man that we looked towards and said, okay, he's still performing.
I feel like he's the only person that's actually gotten an ace so far in the minors from yesterday.
From what we've costed, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you from the other games.
I feel like we would have heard about it somewhere. Maybe on good old Reddit. See, Disbalance. He's been quiet this whole series, and they cannot afford to have that happen. Tor going to get aggressive here with the flashbang, but, well, that doesn't work out for him.
I think Mo was completely blind hitting that shot as well. The hands were in the air. Obviously, we won't be able to tell unless we see it from his perspective, but either way, that's a strong start for the T side. Looking to get back into this one, but Perfecto will be there to actually turn things back. An aggressive peek. Doesn't take really any damage as well. Goes back into a 4v4.
You know, it's funny, because we've talked about Train so much, especially casting the Americas qualifier for the minors. And Pop Dog was always mentioned. And yet, thinking back to the way Gambit was playing earlier against Nemiga, they didn't really favor Pop Dog. They actually favored Ali. And they did favor going towards Ivy constantly to apply the pressure. That's where Joe got overwhelmed a couple times. It forced Robo to peek in towards that angle as well. It seems like they've been able to sell a push towards Ivy, at least, or towards the outside, as they've been able to make their way through in towards inner, and Axel open things up on the Sanji.
Yeah, good entry into the site, and that may actually be enough to just put the round to bed. It's a 4v3, which you kind of look at and go, well, surely they're going to be going for this, but they're completely isolated from the site. I think Bonding, a pixel may have been spotted. It's almost as if he had some sort of spidey sense, but Dosia is there behind anyway to trade. Left into Disbalance and Perfecto, and they are actually going to be going for this. The timing works out well for Perfecto as he pushes through the smoke and into a 2 versus 2. Either way, doing a hell of a lot of damage, but the finances for them aren't great either. Gotta try and make this one a victory. Kit onto Perfecto as well, but well played by Mo. Peek out at the perfect time, no scope needed for that one. And Gambit, they get their first round on the board, and more importantly, put the hurt onto the economy of the CT side.
And able to pick up an op 2 really well for Mo to actually save the money into these rounds. And we saw how just crazy Dust 2 turned out to be with rounds back and forth. And even with like a 6-0 lead, Gambit was yet unable to build up a substantial economy. So anything can really help here. And Mo, he's been very impactful on the AWP. Hopefully for his sake, though, he doesn't push by himself, especially against the eco out of Syman.
Yeah, maybe about to do exactly what you said not to, but not the one with the AWP, of course. It is a pure stack towards this A site. Every single member of the CT side, of course. Sanji could realistically rotate away through the connector if he wanted to, but it's not really worth it in this scenario, especially when the push is actually coming in their direction. Neelan will at least remove one, but the weapon's only retrieved for a matter of seconds, and it's left all onto Torek to at least try and increase the cost a little bit. Now, they actually have enough money that they, well, I think it's more likely they drop a rifle rather than actually picking up 2 AWPs, but they could. They have the option if they really wanted to.
Well, Torik's looking to make a little bit of extra bucks here. Should be no chance at Gambit losing this round. Zaxal does clean things up there. He's currently at 3-3, if I'm not mistaken. And Gambit, after a little bit of a risky start, have been able to fight back really well. And I think this is where things get dangerous. If Syman can't win this gun round, especially on CT side of Train, and the option to potentially go for double op setup, I think they're going to be in a world of hurt here. And I think we're going to be living in a world where we won't be able to see their fantastic stickers.
Early tactical pause actually taken from them. This may just be down to the decision of the purchase, because as I said, they have enough money that they can drop the AWP over, and they do. They juggle some rifles around as well, just to make sure that pretty much everyone has a gun. Now, Sanji's going to be the one to actually take the biggest hit. He'll be playing on an MP9, but of course, if he's sort of aggressive over towards the B ramp, or if he's playing in Pop Dog, it's actually not that much of a detriment. You can actually fire off bullets fairly quickly and maybe surprise someone a little bit. So, not the worst buy in the world. And also, it means that iDisbalance actually has himself that AWP, which we've already mentioned many a time, that he needs to be one of the pinnacle players for the Syman side if they are going to have any chance of actually winning this versus Gambit. Of course, they've already done that once in this tournament, so anybody at home who's just tuned in, don't count them out. This is the 3rd map, and Gambit, although dominant in Dust 2, definitely won on Mirage. The question is, we ask which version of either side is going to be turning up on Train.
Yeah, a little bit of damage to the nade, as well as, wow, that was really well done. The nade and the Molotov to follow up with, and completely gives them an easy frag onto Nealon. They're being flashed in and going to make his way in towards Hell. He's going to have a player on the other side of the smoke. Disbalance has yet to, I think, even shoot off a shot so far in this round, as we're a minute in. And then Op again has to be the big turning point for them. He's got to start hitting these shots because they're going to need his backup, and Mo's going to actually get the better of him.
Yeah, not the start that they were looking for. It will be a trade back. Sanji's retrieved the AWP and actually picked up a double of his own, turning this round back on its head as T's see the bomb hitting the floor, but look at the push that's come through from Bondik. He's taken so much space over onto the B side, and it seems like the CT side may be aware of this potential. I almost want to see them stay over to A and just allow him to play that sort of lurker role, because now that there's no presence on the A side at all, you can see the skepticism actually coming out from this CT side. Of course, the real impact will be if Bondik gets this kill. Now, you can almost guarantee he's going to go and double back around, and this should be a nice, easy frag for him. Will he do it? He's checking. I like it. It's more important to him to actually make sure he just finds all the information available. I know that Jason was begging for a knife, but he just wanted to make sure they win the round.
Damn him for playing smart and not playing for the fans. Oh, this is Bondik doing some work. Gets a double there. Opens up the B side himself. Now Torque left to himself up against the 3. And we get Bondik down, yes. But he's not very healthy, and I think he's just going to save this M4 into the next round. They still have lost the op, though, which they can go back and secure on Sanji, which was in connector.
I think there's a few orbs on the floor at the moment. One of them's actually just been picked up by Dossier. Obviously, he's probably just going to try and round this corner with a pistol and nothing else if he is going to go in towards the site. Seems like he knows where he is. Nice shot from Dossier. Ends the round and removes all weaponry from the CT side. That will make this one nice and easy for Gambit, as there will not be much invested at all. iDisbalance can bring in a pistol, and probably the rest of the players can do the same. They're not going to get a huge amount of money going into the next round. It'll be, well, reasonable. 2,900 into their accounts, but they're waiting for that big boy loss bonus to really get things going.
Well, Gambit now 3 rounds in a row after losing the initial 2. I've been able to build up some sort of momentum here in this round, and in the final map of the actual series. The nade does a little bit of work. Molotov as well, I think, for a couple of points of damage. But again, just on these pistols, they need a lot more than just a couple points. Nealon gets 1, but that's pretty much all they can really get so far on this Torque. With the P250 as well as Sanji can hit something insane. And Murray will quickly shut that down. So Gambit should be up 4-2 now. They also have a stable economy behind this, which again, you think back to Dust 2, they were up 6-0. And their economy now being up 4-2 is 10 times better, if not more.
Yeah, and then the scary thing, this is exactly the same as what I said in the game earlier today, is that when Gambit start getting even just like 4 sort of rounds early on, you sort of think, okay, they're probably going to be able to scrape a round or two along the way, 6, 7 rounds. That's already enough for them. Their CT side earlier today, they lost 1 round. That was it. Namiga barely even got into any of them because they are just much, much better at their CT sides, at least from what we've seen so far. So they're getting off to a strong start on this map is a worrying sign for Syman because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they only managed 5 rounds when they played before on this map on the T side.
Yep, it was 5 to 10. So pretty much exactly back where they were before in way less amount of rounds. You can see another little tack pause coming in here. I think that was for Syman Gaming to talk things over. And as you just mentioned, like once Gambit get like 4 rounds, 5 rounds, when things become dangerous, maybe Syman realized that. They're just talking some things over, trying to figure out what they want to buy into this one. Disbalance again with the AWP. And again, I'm not trying to call, players in particular. It's just that he just did so well for them yesterday. It's just kind of a shame he hasn't been able to do so here today. Like Lollipop, for instance, for Namiga, he did fantastic. And Murray immediately shuts down Nealon again, trying to go for that early pop dog control. Perfecto's able to fight himself back to tie things up, almost, as they're still going to be down a player.
Yes, the same battle again. Mo is going to win versus the AWP. Going to switch the weapon over. Obviously, that's Bogdan's law. Just handing over the AWP to the weaker player. Unless, of course, that player is not simple, then you don't have to do it. Either way. You're not going to see the push coming out. They don't actually have the bomb with them, but they're just trying to brute force their way into the site. Another opening in from Bondik leaves Turek alone with this AWP. His teammate currently making the rotation back, but you can see Gambit just taking their time. Each time they push, they take a little extra portion of the site, and they're pretty much taking a man down with them as well. The only real worry for Gambit in this round at the moment is the fact that there's quite a few damaged players.
Yeah, 14 for Mo, 30 for Bondik, 35 for Mir. Doja is the only one to be untouched so far. Torek's able to recover the AWP. As he makes his way back in towards CT spawn, and Sanjay trying to spot the actual push in towards the middle. They know it's going to be on the outside. Contesting 2v4 is going to be tough. I think it's all going to come down to Sanjay. Yeah, Turek can... Well, yep, like I said, all on to Sanjay.
Well, the time's actually ticking fairly low. 15 seconds left on the clock. If he can somehow shoot the feet underneath, maybe there's a chance. I think that's what he's going to go for here, but other than that, it is just straight into the save. Attempting to do a little bit of damage. Again, they do have the max loss bonus now coming up behind them, so 3,400 into their accounts, and what that does mean is we can at least see some pistols, but an extra rifle would definitely be nice. Either way, it is going to be now 5-2 in favor of Gambit.
$5 as Doja gets this kill. Oh, got me $5. Nice.
No, I don't.
5-2 for Gambit. And they're just looking good. Like even shots like that where like it seemed like that Sanjay knew he was there, or like shots, for instance, like the couple rounds prior when he like walked out of Z Connector with just the Glock, and he just popped the head of the person trying to save the weapon. It seems to be like they have a really good read, and I guess that comes down to preparation, right? Because they only had 5 rounds of the T side the first time they met Syman, and it wasn't like they got 5 and then they lost the rest. They had to struggle and fight tooth and nail to get up to that point. That preparation seemed to be key here. And look at this push trying to come in towards middle, trying to challenge on this one. Bondik. Yeah, pretty much going to shut this down as well as Mur. Sanjay gets a kill, gets an AK, but quickly gets turned on by Doja, who was waiting and lurking off to the side. But still an expensive round here for Gambit, to be fair. Not only 2 players, and Disbalance, there actually is a chance he could do this. Bondik on 11 health. He could win this round. The problem is he has to rotate extremely quickly since he has no kit to get over towards this inside site.
Obviously not knowing how low his opponent is, he's picked up the AK, or the AWP even for the AK. I wonder if he's just going to try and save it again. Currently 11 ADR, definitely not the start to this game that we were looking for from this man, especially on the CT side as well. And it's going to be a struggle to try and turn this back on the T side as Gambit do look to get their 6th, and yeah, not even going to challenge it. And you even feel like, you look at the confidence they had on Mirage. Obviously they were in front, so it's a little bit of a different story. But we saw like Perfecto going for 1v3s where the bomb's down, he's smoked out, and he's still trying to get the kills. In this scenario, it's a 1v2 where one of the players is very low. Like, obviously, depending on whether he knew that or not is a completely different thing. But you almost kind of want, at this point, to try and go for something, especially if you consider Like, I know saving the AWP is obviously nice, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. They're still going to be buying an AWP into the next round anyway if they really wanted to.
Yeah. Maybe they want to go the double setup then.
Potentially.
I mean, outside control is just... Well, I mean, I can't even say that. Just control in general just has not been working out for them. On the outside, maybe the double up setup would be a nice little change of pace here as Mo's been able to get the better of Disbalance, I think twice so far in this map. Though Sanji was able to at least avenge his fallen brother a couple of rounds prior. There we go, 6-2, Gambit. Looking good. I mean, I think that Dust was even talking about this before. Like, they find it hard to ever bet against Gambit after seeing them on Dust 2 and after seeing the confidence start to rise. Especially Bondig, like you mentioned it before, he was having a fantastic series. It's actually a top frag in, I think, both maps so far. Or actually, sorry, you topped in both maps against Amiga earlier on today.
Yeah, it has been a good showing from him. And to be honest, it's been a much better team performance, but in this round at least, it's a strong start from the CT side. However, a lot is going to be onto Sanji here. MP9. Bomb's just going to be dropped as he looks to wrap around, but Sanji wins the shots anyway. Bondig spraying from above can't do anything. That MP9 is putting in bits at the moment and leaves Mo alone with 3 HP. A minute can be a long time in Counter-Strike. That's how long he's going to try and save this AWP for.
I don't think Syman Gaming really have the option to necessarily chase this either. They're not really sitting too pretty on money. And the fact is, even if they do get rid of the SOP out of his hands, well, you got Doja with 11K, you got Mirror with 8K, Mo has 6.5. Like, they're going to be, if they want an op, they're going to have an op next round, no matter what you do. And luckily for you, have your own maintained for Disbalance. So I would imagine they're just going to protect this. And Mo should be able to escape into the next round with the AWP saved.
Yep. Just burning down the clock. It will be a third round on the board at least, but more importantly, they've actually got a little bit of extra money saved up. Now, that was based off the AWP save in the previous round, so it does actually help them out a little bit when it comes to buying Perfecto another gun. And if this, well, this would be a pretty good time if they wanted to switch to a double AWP setup to do it. One player down, the rest of the players saving rifles and a bit of extra cash to actually purchase back up with. So, be interested to see if they do bring it back in. Now, obviously, on the other side of things, so much cash built up for Gambit. 12,000 on a couple of players. In fact, Mo going to go straight back in with an AWP and plenty of utility behind it. The CT side have jungled around some weapons, but I can't see the gun that has actually been put on the floor. So as of right now, they haven't decided whether or not they're going to be going for the secondary AWP. I'd actually quite like to see a bit of a change because, although they managed to win themselves the last round, it's been a little bit lackluster, and I feel like obviously the last was, again, a fairly aggressive peak coming out from the Gambit side and then just attempting to run inner to, like, basically just switch things up towards the end. So I would actually quite like to see the secondary AWP, like, throw it in, maybe get a little bit aggressive over to the B side. And that's something we've not seen too much, is that sort of upper B presence where you just section off a portion of the map. You know where they're going for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
We've seen so much presence on Ivy, but barely anything when it comes to that sort of spot.
Flash being to come through to allow Bonnig to push out and towards Brown Halls there. And you can see, like, you literally just said, like, the Ivy presence. We're seeing 2 players out of Gambit. We're seeing 1 player Torque going to be maintaining that spot. But we do see a 2-player hold out of Syman Gaming on the inside with Neelan and Sanji. So they're putting a little bit more presence on the inner site. But yeah, I feel like if you can get someone aggressive up towards upper, make an early frag back away, then you can rotate a player on the outside and leave 1 on the inside and go for the retake since you have a big man advantage. Speaking of retakes, I think it's about to happen here as it looks like Gambit are setting up for the inside push. It comes down to these 2 players of Neelan and Sanji to somehow hold on to this, somehow receive this aggression. They do have an incendiary grenade out of Sanji, and Neelan's going to have the flashbang to maybe buy some time. Let's see what they can pull off here, Tom.
Here comes all the utility. I believe one of those Molotovs might not actually have landed. Sanji's going to be up close already. Manages a first and a second as well. A big double with a triple to boot. He's trying to do it all on his own, but it doesn't quite matter. He's found the man advantage for his side. Bondig trying to push this through, and although Dosia will be able to trade 1 back, it's a similar scenario to the last round. You almost have to wonder if saving this AWP into the next would be worth it. By the looks of it, the X-God's going to be trying to do this all on his own. He's only got 19 HP. This is quite a risky challenge to take. And well, again, we can talk about the idea if they want to double AWP, they can bring it in. Just every time the coach is getting excited, I'm just enjoying it.
I feel a little bit worried. I was seeing him stretch before we started the map. I'm like, oof, he's going to be punching some arms here. He's going to be getting someone going for this. I know, he's a great guy. Got to talk with him as well yesterday when we were sitting at the hotel.
Eating our unbranded chicken because they don't sponsor us.
He didn't have any.
That's true, but that's what I was eating.
Yeah, it was delicious. Unbranded chicken, that's my favorite brand.
Along with my ESL juice, which I'm drinking right now.
ESL juice. Oh! All right.
Well, you wanted Pop Dog challenge from the tees, and there you go. They're both dead.
It seemed like Gambit didn't expect Perfecto to be there. I mean, it's been Nealon normally doing that, but I think he's rotated him into a different position for this. He's actually back towards the bomb train. And they didn't do the normal drop. They didn't Molotov off. They didn't do the drop on top of each other's heads. Bondic, speaking of heads, takes off Perfectos through the smoke while blind. Just trying to handicap himself to give Syman Gaming a chance here.
Challenge mode.
This is hard mode. CIS here.
T-side. Still with a decent amount of utility. CT's actually with a reasonable amount of their own. Still a couple of incendiaries, a smoke left on to disbalance. 55 seconds left on the clock. Because again, this seems to be the almost classic Gambit of like attempt something over towards the A side. When it fails, just fall back into a pretty much default inner push. And it really hasn't been working too well. In this scenario, Senji's much more passive. It was the aggressive position he had in the previous round that actually was more successful. But we'll see if he can make it work from a distance. Obviously, just wanting to try and hold them off on the cross, buy some time for his teammates. And actually, initially, they're just going to try and run down the side. They want to take that extra control. The bomb's actually going to go with them, so... Bondic with a nice shot, and that is the one man who was defending the site. Bondic left on just 1 HP, even does extra damage with his utility, and I think Bondic may just be the sort of fake out here, but he gets the kill anyway. The fact is, I think he was just meant to be the bait for Mir. Instead, he manages to get one, but a double spray comes in from Torek. It's left all onto Dosia to try and clutch this out. Misses the second shot at least, but still the bomb ticking away. Disbalance, trying to push back in. The smoke will be there to isolate him. Gonna just fake out the diffuser, but the fact is he's trying to go over the smoke, and Dosia has absolutely no idea whether or not he's still defusing the bomb. And the fact is now he sort of has to be defusing it. Dosia gonna go in with a knife, and that'll be the round for Gambit. I think he's going up with a bomb though.
Yeah, heard the death there at the end. Doesn't matter though. Gotta be happy about that knife. Gotta be happy about that clutch as well, considering Torek had a great play, wrapping around to look towards Z. Took 2 players down from behind, Perfecto. Like, you would assume, right? You get those 2 frags at the top of the round, you're like, all right, we got this, right? We have 5 on 3, and yet Gambit do it again. Up 7-4 now. That little jab animation, little shanking animation out of the Huntsman knife. This is tough now. Syman Gaming, CT side, had 10 rounds when they met just yesterday. And now only 4, and things are definitely starting to slip away for them. So again, a lot of heavy Ivy presence out of Gambit. I like this though, because they switch up between like Ivy and Pop Dog. Like, they're just trying to keep Syman Gaming on their toes, not letting them get comfortable, not letting them figure them out and get a good read. And that nade already coming through does a hell of a lot of damage to Disbalance.
Yeah, he's looking off at the moment. Like, he's currently got 2 kills in the server, and again, we're talking about this guy is meant to be one of the heavy hitters for Syman Gaming. At least that's what we saw in the previous match where they managed to do so well. Either way, this time he's on the board. He's got himself another frag to pick off Dosia, attempting to sneak his way through Ivy. However, it's worth noting again, the CT side, so much utility already expended. The same for the Ts, although they do still have 4 smokes available to them to try and gather up some control. The fact is, I wonder if they're going to do it again, attempt something over towards the A site early on, and then just go for the rotation back to B.
Perfecto again getting the early Pop Dog control as Dosia has gone down. With only 1 player to really defend it here, Sanji to receive, only the flashbang as well. The rotations aren't even going to be quick too, considering there's no one near connector. You do have Perfecto who could climb up towards ladder, but again with alert kind of out of Axile, it's not going to be easy to get up in that spot. Finally, it's going to be Disbalance able to rotate in, but the op's going to be just completely made null with that smoke coming through. And Axel also takes down Perfecto, who did go up the ladder, did try to make something happen. And there we go, 3 quick kills coming for Gambit. And just like that, with 8 seconds left and the bomb going down, Gambit are 1 step closer to having their 8th round on the board.
Yeah, this will be a tough, tough retake if they even decide to go for it. Just a single flash to try and get them back into the site. And while that player is actually looking to push in on the flank, Axile clinical with his execution of Neelan, and while Torik's just left to try and save his weapon once again. Although, is he going to... I think he's just looking for an exit.
So you mentioned this earlier on about Som playing for Swole Patrol when we were doing the America's Minors qualifier, close qualifier. And on Dust 2, he went off. We were like, okay, this kid's got some skill. You know, this is looking like Swole Patrol should have a good chance. But then we went on to the more team-oriented maps, the more complicated maps, and that's where he started to falter. I'm not saying Axile's faltering at all, but he's not able to perform like he did on Dust 2. Currently, he's at 6 and 9, 7 and 9, I believe, or 6-9 at the end of that round. It's not as easy for him to perform like he was able to on Dust 2. But also, it's a good sign for me that you know you have someone that's capable of that firepower. You just need to give him some experience, right? Help him grow. He's 16 years old. He's playing here. Like,
I will say,
tough to do.
In that round at least, he still had important impact frags. Like, all the rotations that were attempting to come in from the CT side, he got both. So he caught the man coming up the ladder, and right at the end, as the man looking to come down the ramp, he caught that as well. And okay, they're not the snazziest frags. They're not the man running into the site and getting the entries, but Mir's already doing that job. Okay, on another map, yeah, like Dust 2, when they need to sort of clutch situations or they're retaking a lot more, yeah, sure, he needs to be the one pulling in the frags. But if he's doing his job, if he's on the rotations, I got no problem.
Yeah. I'm not trying to say it in a negative light. I'm just saying you can see there's going to be a little bit of difference in terms of his individual raw skill, more of obviously a team-oriented map. But it does give me a lot of excitement about him as a player as the time and months and years do pass on. So at around 13, Gambit up 8-4, and we already know they have a strong CT side on Train. I hate to say it, because I don't want to see Syman Gaming go home. I don't want to see either of these teams going home. But Gambit just seemed to have their number completely. The prep work coming into this, the warm-up of the first best of 3, looking like a completely different team than just yesterday.
And this is a sort of weird purchase coming in from Syman Gaming. They've got a few players saving some money, a few players not. You've got Perfecto fully invested, Sanji's got an AWP, and then it just seems like an almost mix by across the board. And obviously on the other side, Gambit have got everything they design. Now again, a lot of these rounds have been much closer than the scoreline may be beginning to suggest. You can see that the money there for Gambit is not in a particularly good state. So there's a chance that if they can somehow steal this round away, that they could actually break back. The big problem I have now, just look at Dosia. This is a horrible, horrible position for the man on B.
Say, look at him. I can't take my eyes off him. Yeah, he's got the flank yet again. Bondic did it before on B. He's going to have his own chance. He's not even alone there either. That's the funny part. You do have Mo there as well. Here comes the push in from lower. Maybe a little preemptive. And you can see the two players in towards Z have expected this, actually. I just feel bad for the other player on site. It's going to be Sanji, who does get dropped from behind. Doja not watching the push out from Connector, though. Allows Torque to get himself through and potentially can take the bomb down from being planted. But Doja's going to be there, and now it's just going to be all on Neelan and Perfecto. And just want to touch on something you said before about the economy. You're right, Gambit's economy has just been slaughtered. But we think back to round 7 when they were up 4-2. Gambit Esports had like 5K on everyone, and that just shows that, yes, Syman Gaming have been doing better. They have been getting these kills and making these rounds costly for Gambit. But close is not enough here in the game of Counter-Strike, as they're now up 9-4.
Yeah, this is a scary, scary scoreline if you're up against Gambit. If they've got this many rounds on the T side, the CT side are normally their better side, so I'm worried for Syman Gaming. And at the same time, from what we've seen from them, I think they've been better on their CT sides as well. Like, we've seen a lot more coming out from the AWP of disbalance. Speaking of disbalance, the disparity between their economy at the moment in this round is a little bit worrying. Like I said, Perfecto heavily investing into the previous round. He did do some damage with the CZ, but he comes up with an MP9, and this one, Sanji in the same position, and then no kits and limited utility. This is not the buy you want to be going into round 14 with when you're this far behind and realistically need the last couple of rounds.
Where have all the timeouts been for Syman Gaming?
They were doing it very early on. I think they had one in like round 3 or something. And then from then on, it sort of like diminished a bit.
I'm just wondering because, you need to take a second, maybe talk to your players, maybe for Solar, put your boxing gloves on.
Yeah, he's actually learned to just communicate by punches. That's why he doesn't need the timeouts. It's a bit of a sketchy subject, of course, because that's not really allowed, but that's a point. If they learn sign language, can they do that without taking a timeout? Have I found a loophole?
No, I don't think they're allowed to do that because they can't turn around either.
What if he goes in front of them?
I don't think the coach can do that. Stop trying to make holes in this. There's no holes.
I'm trying to find loopholes in the rule, which I probably shouldn't be. Either way.
I'm pretty sure other people out there have tried, so I don't think you're the first. 9-4. 39 seconds left, so they've actually taken a hell of a lot of time here to actually bait out some utility out of Syman and also look for their plan of attack. It looks like it's going to be on the outside. Perfecto, only the MP9, does pick up the first, looking for that second to have an option to go for the spray down, but Mo's going to be there yet again. Nealon going to be by himself on the outside side. There's so many angles, so many people closing in on his position. This balance, unfortunately, he's just not going to hit these shots at the moment, and Axile will take him down. This is looking very grim here for Syman Gaming.
Ooh, but look at the time. I think if he got that kill and maybe just managed to escape, there was a small chance he could have won that round, but obviously another player being just around the corner sort of stopped that from happening. Double digits hit for Gambit. Mo still going strong with the AWP, and well, can't really shake a stick at Bondic either. He's been fantastic throughout. And that's the thing, I feel like in a lot of the games we've seen, there's been 3 sort of heavier hitters in this one. Like, you look towards their sort of Inferno matchup, we talk about Axel, Bondic, and Mo. Now we've got Mir starting to step up a little bit more in terms of the fragging capability. Dosia as well. Again, they're just, I would say at this point, just leave Pop. It's the one position where they seem to be losing a lot of frags really early into the rounds, and whoever's been in there,
This happened like a couple of rounds before, right? Perfecto got a double, and then they went inside, and they were able to actually clutch the round out. It looks like they're actually doing the exact same thing here, but we're seeing something that you wanted to see. Disbalance is pushed up towards upper a little bit more on the inside side. Yeah. If he's not holding the angle to see them come in that direction, but at least it's a sort of switch up in their strategy. Just a little bit too late, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's something we saw Dosia do actually in the match earlier today, where he was up above, and because they kept going ramp, he just managed to avoid everyone and just kill them all. Nice work from Mir, utility usage to net himself a frag, and will even escape away. Still a minute left on the clock. Now, this is something we've seen Gambit do so often in this half that it's actually quite disheartening that they get like a little bit of damage, they sort of lose some players, and then they switch to B. And then there's never been a bolster of the defense on B when this has been realized. So I feel like Syman are going to watch this VOD back and think, maybe we should have caught that a little bit earlier in the game. At the same time, Disbalance does manage to at least get rid of one.
Just want to point out as well, Sanji had 108 ADR before the round did start. He actually had more than Bondic, who is the top ADR for his team at about 104. And they will take the round. Perfecto just pick up another one there, but one round at 5-10 now in favor of Gambit. We're going to find out how this match is going to end here just after this short break. It's now time to get down to the nitty and gritty here of the CIS Minor for the Intel Extreme Master Katowice 2019 Major. The loser of this map will be going home. The winner will be moving on into the playoffs tomorrow to play against some of the best CIS teams in the region and battle for their chance to get into the Major. I'm still Jason Kappen, joined by Tom. And Tom, this is going to be a tough ask for Syman Gaming to get back into this. 5 rounds on their CT side of train. We're going to find out if they have what it takes to pull this one back.
Yeah, Gambit had a fantastic CT side earlier in the day as well, so we're already going to be feeling fairly comfortable going into this one. They even have a 3-man stack onto this, and they have a nade already on Dosia. Which way is he going to throw it, though? Is he going to get this right? There's a lot of players over to the ramp, and he's sort of making his decision. He is going to throw it right into all of the players. He even gets a kill on one of them, and this has just turned into an absolute slaughter. Sanji will be able to get one with the P250, a second, even a third, in fact, somehow turning the round on his head. This man does not want to go home just yet, as he turns this into a 2 versus 2. You can see the rotation going back from Axile already. Perfecto and Co making his way up and around. The fact is, though, it seems like the CTs are going to have to split this one.
It's insane to see a team read into a strat like that on pistol round, have a ton of damage done, but just a moment of brilliance out of Sanji, able to pull things back and equalize things at 2 apiece. He's got 2 more to find for the ace. And they are going to have an opportunity to push on towards outside, but look at this player, look at Axile, lurking in towards hell. 2 players gonna have to clear this angle eventually, and Perfecto, I think, made the first one to look in that direction. I think that's gonna be Sanji actually to come around the corner. Axile's not even looking towards him. He's gonna get another kill. That's his 4th, and now for the ace here, potentially. Bondic gonna be in a 1-on-2. Bomb gonna be planted. And Sanji can't hit the shot just yet. But Bondic has a lot of work to pull this round back in their favor.
Bondic was the one to save them in the previous pistol round. Actually looking to do it once again. He's already got his 3rd, looking to try and match his opponent, and he does just that. This man is so good in pistol rounds. We saw it on, I think it was Mirage as well, where he just had a ridiculous showing in the pistol to try and save them, and he's looked to do it just again.
Again, his face on the screen is like, guys,
come on.
I have to do this again? Come on.
He's got like a cheeky grin. You can see it's like slow there. He's like, yeah, you know.
Just do my thing.
Just Bondic things. You know, I'll just join Gambit, casually just clutch all the pistols for them.
Again, he's been performing well across both series today. He's currently leading at, I believe, 17 kills and 11 deaths. The only player higher than him in the server is Sanji at 19 because of that last 4K that he did just get.
Yeah, I don't want to see what Sanji's face is like at the moment. I imagine it's not happy after doing that much, getting a wonderful, triple to start, and then the 4th one coming in as well. Either way, he's now going to have enough to just buy himself an AK, which is not something you normally see. It's like, oh, we'll juggle around an AK, we'll throw it over to somebody else. He's just like, I just got my own, guys. I'll try and do this. You guys just like chill.
Why is no one near him to pick it up if he dies? He's off by himself towards lower. You do have a player, Perfecto, who's actually down in Pop Dog, but no one's here to pick up the gun if he loses it. Why? Tom?
I don't know.
Is there some strategy that I'm not seeing here? Help me. Dad?
Maybe he's just like, get out of my space. Guys, get out of my space. Like, you're crushing me in. I need a breather. Or it was just a bit of a mistake. Either way, we're going to have the push looking to make its way out of A main. A little bit of presence from Ivy as well. Now, the majority of players here do have pistols. This is still more of a save to get a buy into the next round with the potential to do some damage along the way. Oh, nice shot from Bondic. And he's looking for the man with the rifle as well. In fact, it's Mo to drop it. Now, he's coming to deagle kill some, and even the pistol of the P250 able to do even more. Now, both the remaining players are actually with SMGs. It's all on to Dosia now to try and clutch this out. But he's gone off to a good start. Now remember, neither of these players have any armor. The Molotov actually not quite going to connect. I thought it was going to clip off and bounce back, and he's got to watch out because Neelam's coming around behind him. The chance of him winning this slim to none with this flank. And it will be Neelam to save it. That 1 AK didn't actually have that much impact, but the pistols were able to do enough.
Man, just remind me never to make a Solar angry. If he does like this when he's happy and winning, that's gonna be a scary thought. Yeah, that was really well done by Neelam to come back with just again pistols like you mentioned before, and that kill right there to prevent the bomb from being dropped. I think he had about 17 HP left. The planter saves his teammate and saves the round more importantly, but it's still not done just yet. 11-6. They still have a long way to go here to get themselves in any sort of fighting chance on train. We're going to see Gambit now going to be on force buy. They do have the scout here for Mo. We'll force him out of his spot here with that Molotov. Yeah, I just see Bondik's pick. He's like, really? I clutched the last round and we can't win the one after?
Oh, I think Mo might be about to meet his maker. Just about manages to survive. Now, this is a full investment coming in from the CTs and not really that much behind it. You'd expect this one to be relatively easy for the side of Syman. The fact is, there's actually almost full stack coming in from the CT side. They've even rotated one man in the back lines, which may be able to catch out somebody. They're not watching from behind. Mir is able to get a pick, but Torek there to trade, and one by one, all of them fall. Nice recovery after the pistol round loss from Syman. And I feel like that's a position where it could have been very easy for them to get demoralized. Obviously, 10-5 half, losing the pistol 11-5, it almost leads to believe that the game could be coming to an end, but they've broken back 11-7, definitely not anywhere near a sort of death sentence for them. And now, only going to be an eco coming in for Gambit.
I wonder if the T side, they're going to be feeling a little bit better in terms of they have more creativity with the way they want to play. We haven't really seen, again, the adaptation out of them on the CT side. We didn't see really anyone pushing on the upper position on the inner site to spot that information, gather the information. They were kind of playing into the way Gambit wanted them to, with the stacking towards Ivy, the stacking over towards Pop Dog. This balance takes a hell of a lot of damage right there, but the bomb should be planted momentarily. And we're starting to approach. I want to see when the first real gun run happens, when Gambit picks up into the next round, what's going to actually determine how this rest of the match is going to go. But I'm starting to believe. There's a chance here for Syman Gaming at this rate, especially with how that pistol round went.
Just to stack up in case anybody comes hunting to try and finish off these players. There's absolutely no reason for Syman Gaming to do it other than maybe a little bit of confidence or to pick up the $1,500 that currently sits $300 apiece with the Gambit players, but there's no SMGs over on the T side, so there's not really a reason to do it.
It's like on Dust 2, right? When it was Bondik in the middle and top him with the USP when they were saving, there's no point to challenge that, lose a gun, and or the upside, hey, you get $300, so.
Yeah, especially not when there's 5, because they can just, like they did, have a filthy crossfire somewhere, you go walking around the corner and you're dead, so. Just gonna be a save. Every single player surviving for Syman is going to be a fantastic start to their T side. Every single player, bar one, with 6,000 plus after just a couple of rounds in a row. But now we do have the CT side with the buyback of their own. Still, many pieces missing to the puzzle. No incendiaries and no kits either. Not even head armor on the majority, but that won't make much of a difference versus the AKs anyway. The interesting thing will be, can they actually steal this round away, or are we going to see another couple of rounds going the way of this T side before Gambit can actually get back onto the board?
The thing is, if you don't get Mo and Op, I wonder if they're going to be able to start taking some rounds for Gambit. And with the way they're buying, it doesn't seem like they want to invest into it right off the bat. They're also not aggressively holding any of these positions just yet. They do have 2 players on the inside, 3 players on outer. I'm curious to see what Nealon, Disbalance, and Perfector are going to do on the outside. Because they still have a 3-man stack there waiting. Maybe they're going for the execute. Maybe they're just trying to punish Gambit for any sort of aggression and for any sort of information they're looking to gather. But I do like this play because they realize they have advantage utility-wise in this round. There's no need to force the situation, force this issue just yet.
I just really hope we don't see the bomb go down Pop. I think you have to send somebody down there to clear it first, and then you could do it. Okay, that's fine. Now, see, yeah, the bomb drops in afterwards, there's no risk, because the person's already dead. If you drop in with the bomb, then you're basically just giving that one chance of, like, the bomb just being stuck in Pop, which is a horrible position. Either way, though, Bondik's still looking to continue his reign as he does a lot of damage. Mo still waiting on the site, but he's going to be caught out by Perfecto, and it leaves it on to just 2. Now, there's a couple of low players for the T side. We are going to see the rotation from Dosia, but by the looks of it, they may just be holding for the exits once again. So another round on the board for Syman. And with the loss bonus starting to build, there's a chance we could see a bit more of an investment into the next round from Gambit. And the 2 rifles give them more of a chance to actually win those sort of rounds. But the fact is, we are now getting much closer to level pegging. And of course, this we've been talking since the beginning. It's been a more like sort of dominant showing from Gambit with like the 11-4 half. But at the same time, whoever loses this map is out. It's not like Syman have to win this one and another one. No, they took the first map. It seems like a long, long time ago now. But whoever wins this map goes through to the playoff stage. Whoever loses it goes home.
And it seems like Sanji is just tired of losing. He's got the top ADR in the server. He's got the top frags as well, even while being on this losing side of the match so far.
Maybe Gambit should have, you know, put in a little bit more money when they...
Right, exactly. That goes back to the point we mentioned before, is that Gambit wanted to pick up Sanji before he even got into the minors, but he ended up staying with his team. And again, I mean, this
he now knocks them out.
Yeah, he's like, hey, maybe you should have, you know, paid an extra 100 grand for me.
Yeah,
maybe
extra 100 grand. Jeez. Jeez.
It depends how much, you know, can you make off stickers, because that's probably what you should pay.
That's true, actually. Is it worth the sticker money?
But honestly, credit to him. Like, not only just to get this amount of frags, but it's in the kind of conditions to do it, right? When you were down so badly on Dust 2, when you were losing so heavily on Train, to kind of ignore that, keep your composure. And I think a lot of players struggle with that, especially in general when it comes to the younger players versus the more, you know, older, experienced.
Well, there's Balance waiting patiently. There's his teammate just around the corner who's made it a little bit further. Oh, the timing here could be perfect for Mir. Sanji switches back and just executes him. Still, though, Bondik's going to push forward. And that's actually a couple of weapons on the deck, because obviously one of them was in the hands of Mir already, so he's going to be able to retrieve that. Torek going to go pushing. So actually didn't have anything, so he's managed to hit a dink and sort of set up the remainder of the players. The problem is a few of them now being dropped. Mo will be able to pick off one, but it's left all onto Bondik. Now, as we mentioned, he has been very good in this matchup so far. He's been the only person really close to rivaling Sanji, who has now hit the deck.
Sorry, I see his face in that picture. I'm just like, it's up to me again. It's like such a great, I want that as an emote on Twitch, 100%. That'd be fantastic to see. And you see Solar behind them. He's getting energetic as well. I think the players are starting to really feel this one in Gambit. Kind of left scratching their heads. What went wrong? We were up 10-5. They're actually going to take a tactical timeout themselves to figure out what can we do? What can we change? Sanji not only did that in that round against Mir, he did it in the round before against Bondik as he pushed up over towards T Connector. Like, he was able to just switch right towards them and get a major frag when they needed it.
I think the emote should be called I'm Disabondic.
Stick to your day job, I think.
This is my day job. And my night job occasionally.
I'm disabondic in you.
Yeah. And just that face. There you go. Someone do it. Someone have it as their emote or sub. There you go.
I mean, you should give him the option to do it first.
Yeah.
You can just
Bondik, you're obviously watching
can
this
copy
back
strike
in the future. No, copyright him.
I'll copy strike it. Don't worry.
Yeah, the money's mine.
Memes. So here we go, into round 22.
Bought my $2.50 back.
Syman Gaming about to actually tie things up here in a map I never expected, especially with the way Dust 2 went, how the first half went of Train. But credit to them. They've been able to dismantle the Gambit side on the CT. Defending half, and even Mo with AWP. Oh!
He would have hit that yesterday.
He would disbalance?
I don't know. He just seemed like he was playing a lot more confidently. Still, that's a fairly aggressive play to try and make.
I want to see how old he is, actually. I'm curious. I don't know off the top of my head. He's 22. Okay, so a relatively young player.
I don't know about you.
But 22's young.
Okay. I was going for the...
I'm 30, all right? You know?
Well, yeah, I was going to say earlier, but I thought it was a bit harsh, but soon you will be like double the age of some of the pro players.
Thanks.
How does that feel?
Thanks, Ben. Just love hearing about how
Very
people
close.
half my age.
Yeah. He's very close, 16 years old. Just think about that. Does it hurt?
Better at video games than me. Whatever, I come to terms
That's
with
not
that.
hard. There's definitely 15-year-olds better at video games. I think there's probably 8-year-olds.
I've come to terms with that when my brother got further in Candy Crush than I could ever get. So.
I said games.
Nealing gonna be pushing out T mid a little bit later. Axel though. Easy little double spread and a third Sanji. Now we get the better from this time. 20 seconds left to go. The bomb is down in, well, towards the outside, towards T mid. And I don't think they have a chance here. I think they have to just pretty much save these weapons, but somehow Perfecto gets the kill. 10 seconds left to go. There's no chance they can plant here. They can just make it costly for the side of Gambit. He didn't maintain this op. Moo will take down Perfecto, and Disbalance needs to keep this. But I think they spotted him out. He's just not dying now.
It's quite funny to me that he sort of made the decision to save, but he wanted the bomb. Like, they were clearly saving. He just ran in, got the bomb, and went, I'm taking this, and just went back into A main again. So, yeah, 12 to 10. He did actually survive, for anybody wondering. The cheeky side monitor has let me know. But, yeah, even still, money is not in the greatest of states for Gambit, and the T's actually have an awful lot of cash to sort of buy back with, so they're going to be fine for the next couple of rounds. Perfecto, even after, is that right? Even after buying, has 10,000? Yeah. Plenty of cash for him to purchase up with, so...
Alright, so there's a technical issue, it's not tactical. So players are not allowed to talk during this time.
Watch him.
If anyone opens their mouth, you're gonna have to...
Yeah, I'm going next door and then I'll leave again because they're bigger than me, as are most people.
Yeah, well, just imagine being Bleh. I think 99% of the world, I think I've seen 5-year-olds taller than him. So just to update you what's going on around the world here in the CIS Minor, we do still have Avangard up against Prosto. That's over on the B stream. We have currently a 1-0 lead for Avangard. They won Inferno 16-13, but currently in Dust 2, it's 11-10 in favor of Prosto, as they're on the CT side. Kenzor, the person or the player having health issues coming to this event, where Senya might have had to field his position. He's currently top fragging at 21-10. That's on the B stream if you want to check that out. I think that's with Lawners and Scrawny. In the meantime, stay here with us because we have Gambit fighting for their chance and Syman trying to tie things up here on Train.
Looking like a push going to come in onto the A side. Lots of players around this A main area at the moment, and a heavier presence onto B from the Gambit side, and quite far forward as well. Rotation's not going to be available. The nade dunks him, but doesn't do that much damage, in an early trade comes out in favor of the T's, if anything. Mo having to try and do the damage. Will spot out one, and Exile's there once again doing the damage. He's come up big in the last couple of rounds. He's hoping to do just that a little bit more. He's gained the man advantage for now, and already the rotation comes in from Dosia. He's going to be sprayed down through the smoke. Sanji still picking up heavy numbers for the Syman side. The fact is, though, they've got a little bit bogged down. It might even be worth just falling back and trying to take a new position. Instead, they're going to go forcing their way in towards this site. Axar left with the M4, hits the headshot as he falls off the ladder, does a lot of damage onto Disbalance as well, which he will then finish the martyrdom play to close out one more. And now Neelan has everything to do in the 1v2.
Thanos would be happy there. But Mo's going to close this one out, and you can see how important that round was to them as they go up 13-10, now 3 rounds away from getting through into the playoffs. And yeah, Axel, he's, again, I kind of, not in a necessarily negative sense, but did bring him up about not performing like he did on Dust 2. But in some of these rounds, he's hitting these shots when he shouldn't even be able to. And he's been able to help clutch this out. This is going to be a timeout now for Syman Gaming, and it's going to be their last one, most importantly. So they have to play out the rest of this half and the rest of this match here just in the moment.
Yeah, that's their last tactical timeout as well.
Yep.
So they're not going to be able to pause for the rest of the game no matter what happens. And well, interestingly, I think that the last 2 rounds probably the most integral for Gambit, just based on obviously the chance for Syman to even things up and start turning this back around. They were on a 5-round streak, and it's the youngster who wins both rounds. Like, he gets an important triple kill when it comes in Pop Dog, then he's doing the same thing on the site, another triple kill to add to his name. So yeah, okay, he's not the top fragger in the server, but he's definitely had the rounds where he has brought them home for Gambit. And well, if they do go on to win this, I think he's going to be pretty happy with his performance. Either way, still money there for the T side. That's the big problem that Gambit do have at the moment, is they're not running out of finances anytime soon. And I think the footsteps have been heard coming in towards the B site. Mir and Dosia both switching to the same angle at the same time. So the cross going to be able to come in, but Dosia with a double spray down, helped out by his fallen comrade, looking for the third, but can't quite manage. And I thought Turek was actually going to die falling off there. Left on just 2 HP.
The 1G special.
It's left onto him and Sanji. Make that just Sanji, but you wouldn't want anyone else in this situation. Still sat with over 100 ADR, doing a hell of a lot of damage. He's wary of the person looking to come in on the flank, but it's quite a slow flank coming in from Bondik. However, it won't matter. Mo's going to be there to close out this round. The bomb plant going to help even more finances going to the side of Syman. But the fact is, they're still losing rounds in a row.
Syman, again, we already mentioned they have no more timeouts, so it's not like they can talk some things over. This was the round played after their last tactical pause. And again, Mo, he's been really stepping up 17 and 13. Bondic at 20 and 17 before that round finished. And Sanjay, I think, is still above 100 ADR at this rate. Having a fantastic game. The unfortunate part is it takes a lot more than one player to win these matches, unless you're Simple. Or you're Ziwu. Or Nico.
just list off a few.
Nice little tag on a Neelan. I was not going to close out that frag, but again, the damage has been done. He's been able to pretty much single-handedly lock down control of Team Mid here. Bondic through the floor, takes down Torque.
He's literally been floored.
Well, he's not wrong anytime soon because the floor is... Oh god. This is why I should leave it to you instead of me.
Still looking to play a little bit more aggressively in this round, of course. The money's starting to run a little bit dry, but the loss bonus has come up behind the T side, so even if this is a loss, they will be buying into the next round, but obviously it could be their last. Axile wailing up above an angle that's not really been utilized by the CT side too often, and Sanji gonna be the man on the other side. T's taking things very slow. 50 seconds left and they really haven't gained any ground whatsoever. It's almost like they're waiting for Sanji to make them some space. He is going to be sneaking through. I think Axile's a little bit worried about the push coming in from A main, but the fact is, will his opponent even expect him to be here? I think this is a lot going to be down to timing, and the timing may not be there. Axile jumps down, does a lot of damage, and just look, 3 low players now for Syman, but the fact is, they're trying to push into this A site with only 20 seconds left. Mo already drops 1. He doesn't expect the second player to be around that corner, but does go back for a little bit more, hitting all these low players, but with an AWP, it makes no difference at all. And Neelan, with 10 seconds left, he should just be saving here. He can't win this. What is that flick? A ridiculous one at that, but the clock has run too far, and I'm not really sure what's going on.
I think he's trying to hide the op. I bet they have the money to buy them, so I'm not sure exactly, but nonetheless, Gambit now are on map and match point here to get themselves through into the playoffs. Going to be potentially eliminating the team who knocked them into the lower side of the bracket. They still have one more round to close this out. Luckily for them, there's not necessarily as much money for Syman Gaming as they do want. But at this rate, at this kind of stance in the game, I feel like Syman Gaming can go for something a little bit crazy here. It's your last round. You might as well try something a little bit different.
Rush B.
All right. Well, I mean, I thought they were going to actually do it here for a second.
I think faster play could actually work out for them, and in fact, it's not going to be B. They're going to go straight in towards this A site, but this could be the chance for the CT side to finish it here. And now Bondic, he's been leading the way all the way through this game, and now Sanji, his counterpart, is going to have to try and clutch this. It's not happening. 16 and 10, the turnaround from the lower bracket sees Gambit make their way through to the playoff stage. Of course, commiserations for Syman Gaming. They are a team that's definitely shown that they are here to play, in all honesty. That was a good performance from there. They managed to beat Gambit, and they managed to sort of give their opponents yesterday in the sort of the upper bracket match a run for their money.
Yeah, they did, and honestly, congratulations to Gambit, because that's a showing of a good team, right? A team who can lose to an opponent the day before, come back, and not only one best of 3 they had to play against Namiga, come back in the second one and be able to come back strong.
Back to back as well.
Yeah, that's tough to do. 15-minute break. Obviously, you can say, oh, they practice, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, but it's much different at this kind of level of play on the stage, playing with what's on the line here for those teams, and congratulations to them. They move on into tomorrow, but they're not done just yet. They still have to play against Windstrike in the playoff part of the bracket. But that's it here from myself and from Tom. Let's over to the desk to see what they had to say about that last match.
Thank you very much, Jason and Tom. Gambit get it done. They had the keys this time around. And the question I have to ask the lovely analyst joining me on the desk, Pimp and Blair, is Blade the key to this in terms of the preparation that we said about this going into it, in terms of the ROD review for what happened on train?
I'm not necessarily sure I want to give Blade the entire credit, but obviously he's a big part of it. Being able to prepare on a map you already have played against a certain team in a certain tournament once is definitely a different task. So kudos to him for preparing them better. I will say, though, that it looked like Gambit playing just a little bit better today. They were hitting their shots. They were still making the same reads, making some of the same plays that we saw yesterday. It was just working a little bit more efficiently today as the shots were being hit. And that is sometimes Counter-Strike for you, right? If you're hitting your shots, if you're hitting them headshots and you're making sure to open up the rounds proficiently, you're going to win the rounds as well.
Absolutely. And just talking about the first half on Train, one thing I noticed was some of the rounds that, look, you're on the CT side of Train, right? You can't just win 5 rounds and expect to close it out on the T side. It's going to be always a tall ask indeed. And even the rounds they won is basically Sanji going off. He had a great game for him, so I kind of felt bad for him. But then it's a story of 2 players. Sanji putting up whatever he could, and even the 5 rounds, of the 5 rounds they won, I think 3 of them or 4 of them were at least one player just going off, getting a multi-kill round. The CT side was pretty much non-existent. They were not really forcing Gambit to struggle or to fight for map control, so to speak. Gambit had a lot of options to work with towards Ivy, towards inner halls and all those places. And this balance just did not show up this entire series. And he was the one guy we're looking forward to.
And I think that's the biggest problem for him. Without pointing any fingers at this balance, obviously he did not have the best game here, going I think with 46 ADR throughout this match on Train. He was needed because they had a pretty good closing on the pop dog area. As you said, Sanji was in there a few times. Some other players were in there a few times as well, making sure that pop dog was not a viable option for Gambit. But when it came to Ivy, when it came to T main, and even inside, it was just complete open house, and you can't do that on a map like Train, which usually provides a strong CT side.
Well, now we've got an interview with a man who said he wanted to join a team to be the star within it, and he certainly has been a star of this series. It's over to Stunner, who's got Bondik waiting away.
I do have Bondik for the second time today. Thank you very much. And these guys are ecstatic. Gambit Gaming have survived. I don't want to say a scare, but it's definitely a weird time over there, man. Tell me, about the third map, did your palms get a little sweaty?
It was a tough matchup for us overall. So, and we knew that it's like either we are doing our best and we are going through, either we are going home, right? So we just brought everything in this game and last map, and Blade cheered up us a lot and helped us.
So, I mean, yeah, that definitely goes a long way internally. I guess I have a big question about Syman Gaming. They've come here and they've put some numbers on the board and they've been impressive. What would you have to say about your opponents in this last matchup?
I mean, it's a young team for sure. They struggled a bit because they don't have that much experience. But anyway, I can see like several upcoming talents.
Well, up-and-coming talents do tend to go on and make bigger pictures, which is what we're going to focus on with you guys now. You guys now have a much bigger picture to focus on. So I guess for you, what is something that you and the rest of Gambit learned on the backs of these wins and losses?
That we should play our games that we practiced before. That's it.
So it doesn't necessarily go down like it does in practice, basically?
Yeah, true.
True. Okay, well, I'll let you guys get back to scrimming. I'm sure you got a little bit of preparation planned on your behalf. Thank you very much, sir. Спасибо. Let's go ahead and head back to the desk. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Спасибо всем, кто поддерживал. Любите маму, мойте руки мылом. Увидимся.
And я люблю тебя. Okay, so I will see you guys onward. Let's take it back to the desk.
No idea. I'm sure the CIS fans will be very happy with that regardless. Bondik, very honest. He did give a lot of credit to Blade there as well. And Stunner asked him if his palms were sweaty, but didn't ask him if his knees weak and arms are heavy.
Yeah, Blair, you want to say something?
Great, Pip.
I think at this point, Stunner's like half Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I think they've kind of accepted him as one of the family. You can see the camaraderie, so to speak, between Bondik and Stunner there. But yeah, let's just get back to what the results have been, right? Like, if you look at Gambit going through, at the end of the day, we're like, yeah, we expected it, but not in the fashion them having to fight all the way from the lower bracket, to be very honest. But they are through to the playoffs. I think they're playing Windstrike. That should be a very interesting game indeed. But I just wanted to throw a little bit for Syman Gaming. Coming into this tournament, I think none of us really expected them to do much, to be very honest. This is their first LAN event ever as a lineup, by the way. And it's not too shabby a showing. I think they're going to be pretty confident with the fact that they're able to kind of play with some of the big boys in the CIS scene. Like Gambit, for all things considered, even though they don't have Adrian anymore, they don't have Hobbit anymore, they're still a force to be reckoned with, especially in the region. And they did take the fight. It took it all the way to the final map. Even though the losses this map, it wasn't like a complete stomp, so to speak. So a lot of good things to take away for these guys. I want to really see them in the near future as well.
I definitely think it's fair to sing the praises of Syman Gaming. There's some individuals on that team that's going to be good for the future as well. As Bondik was saying, Sanji obviously having a great third map here on Train. He's going to be one for the future. I also do believe that he's currently playing in the FPL, trying and learning from some of the better players in Europe and NA for that matter. Also, just to be that dark guy that I always surround myself as, Gambit needs to step it up. Gambit playing at this level, in the playoff for the CIS Minor here, going up against Windstrike, going up against a potential Avant-Garde game or anything along those lines, they're going to lose out. Gambit need to step it up. They need to, as Bondik said, playing their own game and play up to their own strength. Mao has been performing well. Bundig, we saw a little bit of it here, but we need the entire team to sort of like elevate to a next level. Otherwise, they're not going to qualify for the major. And don't forget that even if they do qualify the major, the teams that they're going to face off when we get to the major itself, it's going to be on a much higher level. So they need to step it up a notch.
Oh, yes. Well, you're not the dark guy. You've got us to brighten up you around you, keep you going, Pimp, as we're going to take a look at the bracket and look at exactly how this has panned out. As you can see there, it's going to be Team Spirit going up against one of the other two teams that are remaining. That game is still going on right now over on the B stream, but we've got win streak now confirmed going up against Gambit Esports. And like you were saying there, Pimp, this is where it can get a little bit more tricky for Gambit because the opposition is getting a lot tougher now.
Let me just give you a quick update on that game. It's Avanga against Pro 100, and currently it is 15-12 on third map for Avanga. So it looks like we'll be getting the favorites to go through, but that's been a bit of a struggle for them as well.
Yeah.
Seems like the two predetermined favorites coming into this CIS Minor haven't really lived up to that title so far. But again, it's Counter-Strike, anything can happen, and the game is certainly not over yet.
No, certainly isn't, guys. This is the last part of day 2 here of the CIS Minor. Any closing thoughts from you, Blair?
Well, I mean, all things considered, I think we're going to be seeing the usual suspects going through. Avangard, like you just mentioned, they're about to beat Pro 100, who, all things said and done, they have managed to show that they can, they still have some spark inside of them, despite having a pretty lackluster day 1. Runtime's out of the running. We have the usual guys. Syman Gaming's out as well. Nemiga's out as well. Now we have the top 4 teams, right? And I think on paper, objectively, no matter what way you look at it, Avangard, Spirit, Winstrike, and of course Gambit are the 4 favorite teams to make it now. Playoffs, best of 3s all around. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I want to see Gambit step it up a notch, and I do think Gambit is one of those teams that also plays sort of to the level that they're facing. You often talk about the term, if you're playing a better team, you also automatically play better yourself. So in that regard, I do still have hope for Gambit, and that is given the experience. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to fare against Winstrike. That's going to be one hell of a matchup, because I do believe also that Winstrike is the team that has so far played the best Counter-Strike out of these 4 teams progressing.
No, completely agree there. Winstrike have looked good. It's going to be really exciting tomorrow. Gambit have got a lot to prove if they want to hold on to that crown of being one of the best teams in the CIS region. But that is it for us here on day 2 for CIS. But do not go anywhere, because Europe is coming right up. Stick with us. We'll be back after a short break.